'cause I'd rather be. If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's
Welcome everybody. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, Deborah Lockhart, CEO of the Australian Disputes Centre, to welcome you all to the grand final of the 4th Asia Pacific Commercial Mediation Competition, and we are very excited to be here tonight. Before I get started, I'd like to recognise the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. For millennia, the Gadigal people have been sharing their knowledge on this land. They've been resolving their disputes. They've been building communities and connections and celebrating their achievements on this land. And I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, both past, present and emerging, as we commence our grand final here this evening. In opening, I'd like to introduce you first to our judges and to our mediators. You've got your programs, and I'm sure that our eminent panel really need no introduction, but I'd just like to say a warm welcome to the Honourable Wayne Martin. It's a real pleasure to have you on board. Wayne was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Western Australia between 2006 and his retirement in July 2018. And prior to his appointment to the bench, he practiced at the bar in the field of commercial litigation, mainly involving disputes around mining, energy, resources, construction and financial services matters. He is a mediator and an arbitrator. So thank you, Wayne. The Honourable Dr. Margaret White AO, who's a former Justice of the Court of Appeal of Queensland and a former alumni of the ADC's mediation training program. Dr. White was appointed as Judge of the Supreme Court of Queensland, making history as the first woman appointed to the court following a distinguished career at the bar. She was appointed to the Queensland Court of Appeal in 2010 and appointed an Officer of the Order of Australia. From New Zealand, the Honourable Chris Finlayson QC joins us today. Chris Finlayson is the former Attorney General of New Zealand and also the Minister for the Treaty of Waitangi negotiations for many years. Before his election to Parliament, he practiced law in Wellington as a solicitor before going on to the bar in 2002, and has worked across many different areas of the law, commercial practice, and beyond, of course, in that extensive career as the Attorney General. Our other international judge this evening hails from Pakistan, Mr. Jawad Sawani. Jawad is an advocate and partner at Abraham and Sawani and sits at the CEDA Global Panel of Mediators. He's a veteran of the competition, having judged the competition since 2013. So welcome, Jawad. And last but by no means least, our fifth judge is Anne Sutherland, who is an Australian mediator with an all-round practice in commercial employment, human rights, wills and estates matters. Anne is a principal of Sutherland Kelly Mediation and a senior fellow in the law faculty at Monash University. Like Jawad, Anne has had an extensive experience in this competition held in Paris, and we're very grateful for Anne's support here in Australia, having been part of the organising committee since its inception now 4 years ago. So welcome to you all, and last but not least, of course, we've got the wonderful Nina Harding, who is mediating the matter today. And Nina is a mediator, a trainer, a broadcaster of extensive experience. So thank you so much, Nina, for your support in mediating our grand final this afternoon. So I'm going to hand over now to our session supervisor, Christelle Santos, and Christelle will be guiding the process and the mediation today. I'm just going to, and she will remind you again, I'm sure, for everyone to, if you're not involved in the mediation, to please turn off your videos. If you can turn them off now, make sure that you are on mute, and sit back and enjoy the mediation.
Welcome to the grand final. My name is Christelle and I'll be your session supervisor. As session supervisor, I'll be responsible for facilitating this mediation, including timing and ensuring the rules are being followed. So before we begin, just a reminder for all the observers to turn off your camera and remain on mute. So there is 85 minutes for the mediation, 15 minutes for the judges to score, and 30 minutes for the judges and mediators to give feedback afterwards. And before we begin, I will call on the students to take the student pledge. Please say, "We do solemnly promise," after I read it out. Do you, the students of Singapore Management University, presenting on behalf of the parties, solemnly promise that you will abide by the rules of mediation competition and that you will not communicate with or in any way receive help from your coaches, fellow teammates, or anyone else during this mediation?
We do solemnly promise.
Thank you, Singapore Management University. Do you, the students of National University of Singapore Team 1, presenting on behalf of the parties, solemnly promise that you will abide by the rules mediation competition and that you will not communicate with or in any way receive help from your coaches, fellow teammates, or anyone else during this mediation?
We do solemnly promise.
Thank you, National University of Singapore Team 1. So now that we're all settled, let's begin. This mediation session will run for 85 minutes. And I will give the floor to the mediator to start this session.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this mediation. My name is Nina, and I'm your mediator. Is everyone happy with first names?
Yes, I think that's fine. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to ask you to, each of you, to introduce yourself and your role at the mediation. Kimberly, would you like to go first?
Good afternoon, Nina, as well as our friends from Neutral Co-Experts. My name is Jay Lee. You can just address me as Jay, and I am the CEO of Wonderland Mining Company.
Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Shu Li, and I'm the counsel for Wonderland Mining Company.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Walter. I'm the CEO of Neutral Coal Exports.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Eugene, Legal Counsel for Neutral Coal Exports.
Thank you very much, everyone. I commend all of you for using mediation, because mediation is a very effective process for resolving commercial disputes, particularly where there is any opportunity for an ongoing relationship in the future. So I do commend you for attempting mediation. Mediation is a great opportunity for parties to understand each other better, to have an opportunity to talk about the issues that are most important to them, to look for creative, new and different options, and hopefully to arrive at a realistic and workable solution. So that will be our focus for the rest of the mediation. One of the reasons that mediation does work so well is because it is a confidential process. So that means that parties, particularly commercial parties, can talk about their dispute in confidence in a mediation. So that means any of our conversations here at mediation are confidential as far as the law allows, and any of the conversations that you have with me in private, I will keep confidential as far as the law allows. I'd encourage you to be open and honest and to talk about the things that have been difficult or perhaps have not yet been discussed. After I finish speaking, I'm going to ask the requesting party, that is Wonderland Mining Company, to speak. And while they are speaking, I will ask the Neutral Coal Export party to hold their comments. Make some notes if you wish to. It's an opportunity to listen. When Wonderland Mining Company have finished speaking, I will hand over to Neutral Coal Exports, and I'll expect the same courtesy from the Wonderland Mining Company. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. After both parties have spoken, it may be helpful to draft an agenda for our conversation. We'll have a joint discussion. And after that, it may be helpful to have a break or to caucus, at which point I will speak to the caucusing party separately. Does everyone understand the protocols around asking for a caucus session or a breakout?
Yes, I think we do.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we do as well.
Thank you so much. Can I just confirm that both parties have authority to negotiate here at the mediation and to reach an agreement at mediation?
That is correct, Nina. Thank you.
Well,
thank you. Thank you very much. I do wish to say that my role as the mediator is not to make a decision, not to tell you who is right or wrong, and I won't be telling you what the answer is or what the outcome should be. My role is to help you have an effective, efficient conversation about the issues, to understand each other better and to look for creative solutions and hopefully a workable, realistic outcome. And that's what we'll focus on. Just a few ground rules, probably not necessary, but one person speaks at a time and everyone will be respectful of all others. And can I ask you to mute your microphone when you are not speaking, if you wouldn't mind? Thank you so much. Are you ready to begin? Yes? Then I'll hand over to the Wonderland Mining Company. Thank you very much.
thank you very much, Nina. And good afternoon to Nina, Walter, and Eugene. Really thank you for taking the time to attend today's mediation session. I am very encouraged to see everyone at the mediation table today on this online platform where we can resolve this dispute conveniently amidst the COVID-19 situation. And for that, once again, we are grateful for everyone's presence. First, let me introduce myself, my company, Wonderland Mining Company, or WMC for short, and what is important to us. Mining has been a human activity since prehistoric times. I personally have been in the mining industry for a very long time too. When I was young, my grandfather used to tell me stories about how ancient Romans developed all of these historical mining methods. And now these mining methods become the foundation of the mining equipment we see today, such as blasting tools, drilling equipment, earth movers, just to name a few. Now, it goes without saying that mining equipment is a key asset to Wonderland Mining Company. We invest heavily in top quality mining equipment. Not only that, we hire the best miners and contractors to operate these mines. These people form the very core of our mining family here at WMC. Now, I believe our commitment to our work and deep expertise is what led Neutral Coal Experts, or NCE for short if I may, to enter into an agreement with us several years back. Now, Under this agreement, WMC would operate the mines and invest at least $200 million, including to construct the coal mine, purchase equipment, build railways, and port works. We saw this as a profitable arrangement because in return, we would be the beneficiary of lucrative export contracts facilitated by NCE. You would also profit from these contracts, I'm sure. But beyond that, we saw this as an opportunity to demonstrate our commitment to Neutralia by providing key public infrastructure, such as the railways and the port works, and we believe that Neutralia as a country has greatly benefited from this as well. So Walter, imagine my surprise when I found out from our legal team that there was a new law introduced in Neutralia in February earlier this year that required any mining operation in Neutralia to have 51% Neutralian equity in order to operate. Now, this has made it impossible for us to continue operating. And Walter, our very profitable working relationship is now at risk. Additionally, my miners and contractors' livelihoods are at stake here. And I see them once again as my family members whose concerns I cannot ignore. Financially, not being able to operate in Neutralia would also mean that the $200 million which we invested into the equipment and we invested into this venture would go to waste. Now, we requested mediation today because this working relationship, we believe, has been beneficial for both parties. And we see a way forward here, Walter. In order for me to determine what is the best steps forward for WMC, I need to understand more about this Neutralian law that was introduced and how we can work around that to preserve this lucrative business arrangement that we have had. I am also mindful that there is an urgency to resolve this issue because the failure to do so has implications for both of our companies. On our side, it means that we don't have an ability to assess these mines. And I also know that you perhaps have obligations, outstanding obligations to the Atlantica customers that you have contracts with. Now, Walter, coming here today, I really hope that the efforts that we spent into building this profitable relationship do not go to waste. I want to listen to you here and hear your thoughts about this situation and work towards a common goal. Let me know what you have in mind. And I believe that as business partners who have worked together for so many years, we can contribute to the mining industry in a very meaningful yet profitable manner. Now, I will leave it to my counsel, Shuli, who will elaborate on the legal aspects that form the backdrop of our negotiations. So maybe I'll pass the time over to her right now.
Sure, thank you, Jay. Walter, Eugene, and Nina, I have advised Jay that under the agreement between WMC and NCE, our right to commence proceedings for reimbursement of the full cost of equipment has arisen because there has been a breach of our contract. In this agreement, there's a promise for a promise. In return for our investment of spending over $200 million on infrastructure, we are supposed to be made beneficiaries of the lucrative export contracts between NCE and your clients overseas. However, the new law passed suddenly by the Neutralian government on 2nd February 2020 stipulates that we need at least 51% Neutralian equity in order to undertake mining operations in Neutralia. Now, this has brought our operations to a grinding halt, and in turn, I'm sure impacted your ability to produce and supply coal to your clients. Thus, as things currently are, the performance of this second promise is not possible. Now, from a legal perspective, while we are in a position to commence proceedings for the full cost of the equipment, we have chosen not to do so. Litigation would be a costly and long-drawn process for both of us, and it may not even be the most effective way to achieve the core interests of both our business. This is especially so given that, as Jay had earlier explained, time is of the essence of the matter today, given the implications for both of us. Now, I have spoken with Jay about this, and we have identified that notwithstanding the new law put in place, there are still several avenues that we could explore to preserve this profit-making partnership for both companies' benefit. Thus, Jay and I come to the mediation table today in good faith, hoping to focus on finding a commercially viable and mutually beneficial solution. Essentially, what my client wishes to discuss today can be summarized into two key issues. First, the new law in Neutralia. We understand that NCE, as a Neutralian company and one being under a PPP arrangement at that, might be more familiar with the details of this new law. And we hope to understand more about this new law and whether there are any possible exceptions to this, so we can better assess how to move forward in our business relations. Second, my client hopes to talk about future agreements. Building on the previous issue, we hope to discuss potential arrangements where both our companies can continue to collaborate. Finally, I wish to emphasize that my role as counsel is an advisory one. I may offer suggestions and guidance, but ultimately the real decisions lie with you, Walter, and Jay. With that, I hope we can have a fruitful discussion with your help, Nina, and I look forward to continuing the profitable venture for both companies.
Thank you very much, Jay and Shu Li. Can I hand over to Neutral Coal Exports?
Sure. Thank you, Jay and Shu Li, for those opening statements. I think they were very clarifying and very helpful. And really just thank you for even requesting this mediation. I think I'm very, very appreciative of it. And I think really guided by what Nina said in her opening statement as the mediator, that she's really here to help us have an effective and efficient conversation and to understand each other better. I think that's very good for us. So by way of introduction, my name is Walter. I'm the CEO of Neutral Coal Exports. So we are a privatized former government body of Neutralia, and we hold the rights to mine and export coal from a large mining site located in the Neutralian rainforest, or we'll just refer to it as the mine. So I think as Jay has really gone into detail about, we had an agreement which would provide for long-term profits for both WMC and NCE. And I think this truly was the proverbial goose that lays the golden eggs. However, as you have mentioned earlier, Jay, as of 2nd February 2020, the goose has been placed in mortal peril due to the new Neutralian laws that you mentioned. As a result, we have also been unable to fulfill our own export contracts, and this has hurt us financially. We hear that it has also hurt you financially, and we definitely hear where you are coming from. And as a result of this, I think you mentioned, Jay, that you are now also asking for reimbursement for the full cost of the infrastructure and equipment, which is $200 million Wonderland dollars. For myself, it truly is regrettable that through no fault of either party, things have reached a point where it seems like it's becoming a situation where what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours. And I think I hear you on this, and I've heard you mention this in your opening statement as well, Jay and Shu Li, that we don't want this to be the case, that we want to find a solution that is mutually beneficial. And that truly is something that we want to work towards as well. We definitely hear you when you said that you have spent a substantial amount of money on capital and infrastructure. And we recognize that $200 million Wonderland dollars is not an insignificant amount of money. We were initially surprised by the claim, but we hear you and your concerns about the issue of time being of the essence, and the issue of really the livelihoods of your miners and contractors. And we definitely would like to explore and understand the current situation that you face right now. For my part, our interests here today are really to find a way to restore profits in the short term, right? Because I think we recognize that your machines are unoperational now. You are also losing money. Our exports are stopped. We are also losing money. So our first interest is to find a way to restore profits in the short term. And we also have an interest in exploring our profit potential for the long term. in a way that is mutually beneficial on both counts. So Jay and Shuli, when you mentioned about future arrangements, I think I was very glad to hear that, because it dovetails perfectly with our interests today as well. So I think, I'm really here and I'm really hopeful that, when we have a frank and open discussion, when we remain open to exploring possibilities and options, I think not just the goose, but even the entire farm can be saved, really. Eugene.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay, Kim, and Shuli, sorry, and Nina. Once again, I'm Eugene, Legal Counsel for NCE. Now, unfortunately, as Walter has just shared,
Eugene, we've just lost your audio. Sorry.
I'm so sorry about that. I think we accidentally clicked the mute button.
That's all right.
I'll just continue. Yeah.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, as Walter has shared, and as Jay has also mentioned, the background for our meeting today is the decision by the Neutralian government to impose local ownership requirements on mining operations in the country, which has prevented WMC from continuing with its otherwise profitable mining operations. Now, Walter has briefed me about how the equipment is lying idle in the Neutralian forest, and has also mentioned WMC's request for full reimbursement of $200 million under what it deems are its rights pursuant to the lease for the mine. Now, I've advised Walter that the legal position isn't quite that straightforward, and that the Neutralian government's actions could amount to frustration, leaving the losses to lie where they fall. That said, mediation is not the appropriate forum for making legal arguments. Walter and I agreed that mediation today presents the opportunity for us to turn adversity into opportunity and craft collaborative solutions that can bring even greater profits to both of our companies. And we think that this is therefore a preferable alternative to litigation. So I'm really encouraged to hear what Jay has shared earlier about how she's looking towards a collaborative solution that meets everyone's concerns. And again, as Walter has shared, I hear your concerns about the livelihoods of your mining family. I think if we can take Nina's advice to heart, if we can be open, if we can seek to understand each other better, we'll be able to achieve all our hopes for mediation today. Thank you.
Thanks, Eugene, and thank you, everyone. So in terms of the ongoing conversation, I think Shuli suggested that we could talk about the new law that has been enacted in Neutralia and whether there might be any exceptions to that new legislation. She also mentioned future collaborative agreements between NCE and WMC. I think, Walter, you suggested short-term and long-term profitable arrangements. So perhaps we could cover short-term and long-term under that future collaborative agreements. And I think also, Walter, you wanted to understand the impact on Wonderland in terms of what has occurred. Would everyone be happy with those agenda items to guide us in the conversation?
I think that sounds okay with us. Could we just see? Is there a way to see it in writing, Nina? If you don't mind.
Yes, I'm just going to. Sorry, I'm just going to share my screen, hopefully, and we'll see how that goes.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Give me one moment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that okay for you? What has been proposed?
Yeah, I think it would be good if we could both see it in writing to see both parties. That would be a good starting ground.
So what works one moment doesn't necessarily work the next moment, just as we found in regard to this particular dispute, and so am I finding in regard to my iPad not wanting to share. So let me just give it one more go. Okay, let's see if that will work. Oh, very messy. Let me just fix that up for you. Okay, so number one, do we have the new Oh,
Okay.
sorry, here we go. New law and exceptions. I do apologise for the messy writing. Future collaborative agreements. And I think, Walter, you said short term and long term. I think we also talked about impact on Wonderland. How does that sound? Would that cover it?
Well, Nina, for us, it seems like this agenda covers most of what we intend to come here to discuss. I'm not, maybe we could check in with Walter. Is there something else that you would wish to add on to this agenda?
Yes. I think really what we are really concerned, maybe it's not even future collaborative agreements in the short term or long term, but really of resolving what concerns there are about the mines and the equipment as well, which I think Eugene will want to ask questions about in also respond to your concerns about the new law and its legal implications.
Okay, so new law and the exceptions to the new law. Impact on Wonderland. Is there anything else that you wish to add to this list that doesn't fall under one of those headings?
Not for us, Nina.
Walter?
Yeah.
No? Okay. All right. So can I ask you, because I'm going to stop screen sharing in a moment so you don't see my awful handwriting for much longer, can I ask you to write these down on your own note paper there, just so you have a copy yourselves? Can I stop screen sharing now? I'll give you one more minute.
I think we're good, Nina.
Walter, good? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Nina.
All right. Thank you very much. So who would like to start our conversation?
Well, Nina, I think that the crux of this issue here today, why we are even here at this table today, is because of the introduction of this new Neutralian law. And as I've mentioned, I think my counsel has also mentioned that we really want to find out a little bit more about this. So I understand that NCE used to be a government, part of a government organization, which later on privatized. And it seems as though you might have quite close relations to the government in Neutralia. So do you have any insight into why this law came into effect in the beginning? And, you know, are there any exceptions that can be made to this law? Because we have a huge stake of our business in Neutralia, and this is really affecting our operations.
Sure. To answer your question, Jay, I did not know about this new law beforehand. This was a surprise to us as well. We were equally, shocked and caught off guard by the announcement of this new law. So that's to answer the first part of your question. Regarding the exceptions, I think Eugene, do you want to take that?
Sure. I think at this moment, I can only give a broad answer because I think the sort of options that we zoom in on in terms of exceptions will depend on what concerns WMC has regarding the current situation. Now, of course, not an exception per se, but the easiest way to circumvent this rule would be to have a company that meets the local ownership requirements of 51%. I'm sure Shuli will be aware that there are many permutations under which that can happen, be it a joint venture, a merger, a takeover. These are all possibilities. But could you just help us to understand, when you ask about a possible exception to these new rules, are you indicating that you'd still like to use this equipment and still like to continue mining operations?
Well, maybe that's something that I could help out over here. Definitely, WMC has had a long-term stake. I mean, we have been in business for a very long time. And of course, if it's possible, we want to be able to continue our operations there. we have miners and contractors who already work there as well. So to pull out suddenly, it's not really realistic for us, and it would have a lot of financial implications that we have to prepare for. So to answer your question directly, yes, we still want to continue mining operations. And that is why we came into this mediation with the idea of coming to a collaborative solution with you and how we can do that together. Because now currently the situation is NCE has the rights to mine the coal from the mines that we operate. Shuli, do you have anything to add on?
Yes. In relation to what Eugene had mentioned earlier, yes, we certainly do see that what you mentioned, like joint venture and all that, those are possible options on the table. But I think just to clarify my client's question, when we talk about exceptions, what we are really asking is that, is there any possibility, any factors under which the government might allow us to be able to operate without complying with the 51% requirement? That's what we meant by exceptions. We just hope that if you have any information on this, we would appreciate if you could share it. It would be helpful when we talk about how we want to move forward from this, and it would give us a clearer picture of the backdrop as well.
Thanks, Jay, and thanks, Shuli. We really hear you on that. Before I answer Shuli's question, I'd just like to clarify, I think there are two interests that seem to be at play here. First, Jay has mentioned that WMC would really like to continue with mining operations, especially in the long term. But if it's unable to do so, then it would have cash issues resulting from the $200 million of equipment that is unused that would materialize. So would it be accurate to say that it would be preferable to first see whether mining operations can continue? And in the alternative, if that's not possible, then you'd be concerned more about cash?
Yes, that is correct, Eugene. So really, thank you really for hearing me out regarding this, because as I've mentioned, we have a huge stake, and this has been a profitable business for both W and NCE. So it's not just an interest for us, but I believe it's also a financial interest for you as well, that we continue to work with you to provide all of these coal and necessary materials to your contracts as well. So in that vein, maybe you could just shed some light on any info you might have regarding the exceptions, or if not, do you foresee this law to be something that is long-term, or is there any chance that, I don't know, do you call it repeal? Surely it's called repeal, right?
Basically, we just want to know more about this law, whether exceptions, how long you foresee it being in place, if you have that information, since after all, it's a law passed in your country, and we believe you might be in a better position to share more about it.
Thanks, Jay and Shuli. Rest assured, I'm not avoiding your question, and thanks for clarifying your interest with me. So to answer your question directly, there is an exception of sorts. I wouldn't really call it an exception because it's not too different from a restructuring, like in any other country or in any other legal system. The Neutralian government does allow companies from which don't meet the local ownership requirements to enter into a joint venture agreement with partner companies that do meet those requirements. And together, such a joint venture company would be considered to be compliant with the local ownership requirements, allowing the joint venture company to conduct mining operations. I hope that answers your question. And actually, this ties into something that I think Walter wanted to share with you coming into this mediation. Walter?
Yes, I think so. What we can share really is something along the lines of what this represents in terms of possibility. So this really means that if you are open to this idea, and I really hear you, that you are very keen to remain in business in Wonderland, in Neutralia, I apologize, that is preferable to selling the equipment, to taking the 200 million. And I think we may have something that might meet your requirements, but at this point, perhaps we might like to run this by the mediator to get a sense of how to frame this issue and see if this will work really. So if you don't mind, could we take a private session with the mediator?
Just before we do that, Walter, can I just check back in with you that the exception to the new law is that if a company such as Wonderland doesn't meet the local requirements, then they could enter into a joint venture with a local company who do meet the requirements.
Yes.
Do we assume that Neutral Coal Exports meets the requirements?
Unfortunately, this requirement does not extend to all local companies, but only to local partner mining companies. So in that sense, because NCE focuses on exports rather than mining per se, we couldn't on our own become the partners in a joint venture such as this.
I think we would very much like to do so, yes.
Yes.
But we don't have the expertise or capacity to do that.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So you'd like a caucus. So let me just confirm that a caucus will be, you have 5 minutes to meet with the mediator, and I'm just going to hand over to Christelle.
Yep, that's fine. So we're just creating the rooms right now, and they will get the notification soon, and we'll commence the time again. Team 809 will remain in the everybody space, and team 2820 will go to their breakout room.
Thank you. Have they now left, Christelle?
Yes, they have now left, and I'll commence the time.
Thank you. Eugene, Walter?
Thank you. Nina, we called this caucus because we know that it's a little early for options. But, you know, we have heard with great interest what WMC have said about wanting to move forward, and they really want to stay in operation. And so we actually have some information to share with you and package that into an option, which is to get them into a joint venture with a Neutralian mining company whom we are familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a mining company called New Rio Operations, or NRO. What we were thinking of doing is having a joint venture where all three of us, WMC, NRO, and NCE, are together in this joint venture, which I think Eugene believes, as my legal counsel, would meet the legal requirements set by the Neutralian government. Now, we want to run this by you because we're concerned about how they might take it, because we don't know if they see NRO as a competitor, really. And we don't know how they would feel if we ask another mining company to essentially muscle in on their business, which has been very profitable for them. So I think we are really concerned about this as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So probably the best way to proceed is to sound them out on that issue, I suppose, and talk to them about the possibility. At this point in time, has New Real Operations, or is it Operations? NRO, have they been involved in your conversations, and have you just started discussions with them?
Yes, Nina. Before this mediation session, I actually had discussed this option with NRO. We were actually looking at something else in case they wanted the money instead, but we also discussed the option of a JV. And actually, we do have authority on their behalf to negotiate a JV, although, of course, the final decision to enter must remain with NRO. But we do have authority to negotiate.
Oh, I see. Okay, good. And can I ask a question? If NRO, for whatever reason, is not a business that Wonderland wishes to be involved with, are there other options?
So the other option would really be the fallback would be to try and arrange essentially what is a buyout of that 200 million sum. However, we've also thought that if instead of a buyout, what we could do is come to a leasing agreement, which may actually make them more money and helps to keep their miners and contractors in operation, so to speak. So we thought, in an alternative to a buyout, because NRO has expressed to us that it doesn't want to pay 200 million. because the equipment has since depreciated in value, given that it was constructed or bought 5 years ago.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So I suggest that putting any ideas on the table is probably a good idea, and being prepared to listen to their concerns. I'm just wondering whether it would be helpful to talk about the impact on Wonderland before you raise that option, whether they may wish to do that. You could certainly offer them the option of talking about the impact on their business before you raise an option, or giving them the opportunity to hear the option now and come back to the impacts later if they wish to.
Nina, we really hear you on that point, and I think we definitely want to find out whether options that we suggest will actually meet their concerns. I'm just thinking back to the conversation we had earlier with Jay and Shuli, and they did say that their primary goal, or the goal that they would prefer, is to continue mining operations rather than exit and get cash. So I think perhaps what I can do, or what Walter will do,
Eugene, may I interrupt you for a moment? I think our 5 minutes is just about to elapse.
I see.
So,
okay. Yes. So I'll just finish up the sentence. So I think Walter will want to suggest this option first, and then we'll try to go back and forth and find out what their concerns are. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Christelle, if we can have the other party rejoin us.
Yep, so they'll be joining in a minute.
All right. Thank you very much, Wonderland, for giving me the opportunity to talk to NCE, and I'll certainly have an opportunity to speak to you later in private if you wish to take up that option. But Walter, Eugene, would you like to talk to Wonderland?
Sure, thank you, Nina. I think your advice was very helpful and very greatly appreciated. So, Jay, Shuli, we heard with great interest, and we heard from you that really your what is preferable to you is remaining in operation in Neutralia, as opposed to essentially selling out. So before I raise that, before I share with you what we had in mind that might address your concerns to also work around these Neutralian laws, I'd first like to ask one question, which is, could I ask why you want to stay?
Well, Walter, your question kind of puzzles me actually, because why are you, can I just ask why you're asking that question? Is there something that you wish to find out from us in terms of that? Because I think I've explained earlier that I wish to stay in Australia because of how profitable it is. I'm a business person and I go anywhere where the money goes. So Neutralia is where the money is right now. So is there something else that you are looking at that, yeah, maybe you could just tell me why this question came up?
I think just to add on, it's rather puzzling for Jay, because I think from the start, it seemed that both sides from the openings were very happy to come into this mediation to collaborate. So it's rather odd to us that you would ask and question why we want to continue partnering.
Well, Shuli, let's hand over to Eugene, and do you have a response?
Yeah, thanks, Shuli and Jay. Rest assured, Walter's intention behind that question was not to question whether you are truly interested in continuing mining operations, or questioning the sincerity of your concerns about maybe even the livelihoods of your workers. Actually, Walter was really just trying to, I think, sound out a bit about a potential option that he's considering, because this would involve a greater degree of working together. And I think he just wanted to sound out whether you'd be keen on that. So maybe, Walter, you could go in a bit, unless maybe Jay, would you want to answer that question that Walter posed to you earlier?
I think it's fine, Eugene. Okay. I think I'm quite reassured by what they've said, and
yes,
it seems to have been taken the wrong way. And I think I just want to echo what Eugene said. I wasn't trying to question your commitment to this process. I think we've heard a lot about it,
Yes.
but it was in terms of clarifying certain questions I had in my mind as well. So I think what we can do now is I explain to you what we've shared and how we can move forward with this. So what we have in mind to solve this issue of getting around the Neutralian laws, and given your repeated commitment that you want to stay in Wonderland, really is a joint venture operation with a Neutralian mining company which meets the compliance requirements for equity ownership under Neutralian law. This company is called New Rio Operations. And we were wondering, would you be open to such a possibility? So this would be a joint venture among all three of us, ourselves, yourself, and NRO.
So allow me to clarify, this company is called New Rail Operations?
Rio, as in Rio de Janeiro.
Ah, okay. So I think that is a proposition that we have heard from you earlier, that there could be a potential of a joint venture between some companies. Maybe I could just ask, what is your relationship with this NRO? Are they like a current customer, or how did you find out about them?
We don't have any current pre-existing relationship. We just are aware that they exist in the market as part of our as the owner of the rights to mine. We obviously entered into some discussions with who would operate at least the mine, and these are companies that have come up on our radar. I mean, we are not here to try and replace you, so to speak, just to assuage any potential concerns you may have. Eugene, did you?
Yes, in fact, before this mediation, just to make sure that we came prepared to suggest alternatives, I had actually gone ahead and spoken a bit to some of these companies, and one of them is NRO. And I think Walter was put in touch with them, had a great conversation with them, and that is why this option is now on the table. So maybe you could share a bit about how you feel about it and whether you're interested. Thank you.
Well, just to clarify, for this joint venture, would this only involve two parties, WMC and NRO, or would it be a three-party agreement where NCE is still involved in the joint venture in some way? Could we just clarify that?
Yeah, as we envisage it, it would be a three-party joint venture. So as Walter had earlier said, the three parties would be WMC, NRO, and NCE. I hope that answers your question. Yes.
I see. Well,
I was just wondering if you could tell us what NRO currently does. Are they a mining company?
Yes, they are indeed a mining company. Yeah, they are a current mining company with equity ownership in line and compliant with Neutralian laws as it stands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, sorry.
Thank you to Walter and Eugene for that proposition. I think that is something that perhaps we would like to talk to Nina about in a private session. And maybe when we return from the session, maybe we could just have some figures regarding the ownership. I understand we have a 51% requirement, so maybe we could have some discussions about that. But for now, we would like to consult Nina particularly on this option. Yeah. So
sorry, Jay. Just one moment. I'd just like to clarify something that might come in handy for your discussion with Nina. The joint venture requirement does not require the entire ownership of the joint venture to be 51% Neutralian owned. In other words, as we discussed earlier, what happens is that one company within this joint venture must itself be compliant. And if this company is compliant, the entire joint venture will be deemed to be compliant. So I hope that helps later in your discussion.
Great. I think that Eugene.
And Eugene and Walter, perhaps you can flesh out that the terms of what that joint venture would look like, so that when we return, you've got a bit more detail that you can share with Wonderland. Is that possible?
Yes,
All right.
Thank you, Nina. We'll certainly do that.
Thank you. All right, so we'll have a quick caucus. Thank you, Christelle.
Yep, no worries. I just pause the time as we wait for team 809 to go to their room.
Okay, have they left us?
Yes, they have left, and I will start the time.
Thank you very much. So what do you think of that option?
Well, Nina, we are very elated and encouraged to hear that Walter and his company is willing to partner with us in terms of a joint venture. Now, I want to make sure that moving back into the joint session, there is a common understanding of what this partnership really means to all of the parties involved. Now, we are aware, I would have to say right now, that there is a rare precious mineral called green quartz. And this is currently in the mine that is forming the basis of our discussion today. And we have found out that actually this is a very valuable asset, and we have valued the worth of the green quartz to be at about $500 billion. That is a very, very significant sum. And we have to be commercially realistic because this puts us at a very strategically advantageous position. And therefore, we are rather cautious of raising it directly to them.
So you don't believe that they know that there is a green quartz deposit in your mine, in the rainforest mine?
We are not sure at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think to put it very clearly, we are unsure of how much, whether they even know of the existence of this mineral, or if they know of it, to what extent, because as my client has mentioned, the value is really very high. So we were just wondering how you might be able to help us to raise this commercially sensitive topic in a manner that protects our commercial interests, but we still want to also try and see if there's some common ground, because we think this is also an opportunity that we could develop with them. So we just wanted to ask you, how could you help us to put this forward to them?
So what are your concerns about raising this new piece of information with the other side? What are your concerns?
Well, our concern here really is because it's such a large amount of resources that are involved, we basically just want to make sure that the JVA partnership that they are proposing right now has the same understanding, because currently it's just coal, it's just limited to coal. And if we were to include this into the JVA, then the value of the JVA itself would exponentially increase. So we just want to make sure that our interests are protected in this manner.
Oh, how interesting. Okay, so the current mining lease really only deals with the exploration and mining of coal.
Yes, that is right.
Oh, okay. So what you're thinking about is not just maintaining the current lease arrangements that you have, but actually expanding that to include this newly discovered mineral.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. So would you be comfortable going back to the joint session and exploring this joint venture idea a little bit more, and then perhaps talking to them about changing the terms of the current lease?
Well, Nina, if I could just share, I think another concern which Jay had shared with me earlier is that we are scared that if we share it directly with them, and if we are unable to agree on a joint venture, we do not want a situation where Wonderland is actually kicked out of the agreement and he just takes over because of the high value here. We don't even know if they are aware of this in the first place, you see. So we do see it as, to some extent, an alternative for us. I mean, if we are not able to agree on a joint venture, we also don't want to just give up this valuable mine to them.
No, indeed. So would a good starting point be to explore the terms of the joint venture, raise with them the possibility of changing the mining lease terms, and if they are favourable to, if the joint venture is something that is of interest to you, if they are favourable towards changing the terms of the mining lease, then perhaps you can think about, you could have a break and discuss between the two of you whether or not you wish to reveal to them the existence of the green quartz, or at this time or at a later time. Would that work?
What do you think, Jay?
Well, that certainly seems like something that we can consider. I think, perhaps we can attempt to broach this topic a bit more subtly during the joint session, and maybe we could start by exploring the terms of the agreement in itself. So I understand that we probably only have about a minute left to...
That concludes your caucus. The other team has arrived, and I will restart the time, commence the time.
Thank you, Christelle. Thank you very much. All right. So when we parted, NCE had proposed a very interesting idea of a joint venture involving a new business called New Rio Operations. And I think Wonderland wanted to have a caucus just to give them a moment to think about their response to that and how things would move forward. How would you like to proceed?
Well, maybe we could just pick up on where we left off before the caucus. We were talking about this potential joint venture. Well, Eugene and Walter, could we just maybe clarify with you what exactly do you envision in this joint venture? Could you share more about, I think we asked earlier about the specific equity, and also about what exactly are we agreeing to? Because I believe currently that working relation is regarding coal. Are there any other opportunities you see that we could work together on?
Thanks for that question, Shuli. I hope that the answer that I give will address your concerns. And if it doesn't, please let us know what exactly about the option is concerning to you, and I hope to address that. So really, I want to put some flesh on the bones of the idea, but I don't want to do it in a way that doesn't meet your interest. So actually, I see the option of the joint venture as having three main components. First is the ownership, right? How much equity will go to each partner in the joint venture? Second, the roles of each joint venture partner. What will we do? How will we operate? And third, and finally, where will we get the profits from? On, as you asked earlier, Shruti, what will we sell or what we mine? I think maybe I can just ask you which of these you want me to talk about first, and we can go there.
So just to recap, ownership, the roles of each partner, or what would actually be mined and sold under this joint venture?
Well, it would be helpful if you could maybe touch on the last item first, which should be what we are mining, because I also do understand that NCE is an exporter. You work with clients from other countries, so it would be helpful to consider and maybe even hear from you. For example, what is the demand like from your clients? What are they looking for? Because at the end of the day, we want something profitable for both sides. So looking into what we are mining and whether there's even a demand for that would certainly help us to have a better idea of the commercial viability of this option. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, well, Walter, I know you have a lot of customers and contracts with people from Atlantica. They perhaps form the main bulk of your contracts, perhaps coming out of the mines. Maybe you could tell us what exactly is their demand are apart from coal.
Now, Walter's about to answer your question, but maybe I can just clarify. It sounds like the concern right now, with respect to what we'll be selling or what we'll be mining, is the commercial viability of an arrangement. I'm not sure if I'm preempting or I'm just overreaching, but perhaps this concern is because now the profits will be shared amongst more people. If that is the case, maybe Walter can share more about the things that we hope we can achieve as a joint venture.
Yes. So right now...
I might just interrupt you for a moment. Can I just clarify, Wonderland, is that what you were asking?
Sorry.
Well, we are concerned with commercial viability, but I think there are several aspects. So yes, Eugene, of course, there's the aspect of now it being a three-party agreement, profits are shared. But when we talk about what we're selling, because you're an exporter, we also want to know, because we do see that coal is a non-renewable source of energy that is declining in popularity. We want to know, is there something, for example, that maybe if your clients have voiced to you that they are interested in? Because at the end of the day, we want something profitable for both sides. So we are also approaching it from that angle. What materials are in demand? Is it something we can look into? Because these are all opportunities we'd be very happy to explore.
Yes, correct. I mean, ultimately, while we currently just mine coal, maybe if we take a look at the bigger picture here, is we are essentially a mining company. As long as there's something in the mines that we can find value towards and your customers need it, we will work with you. We want to work with you to find those things in the mines. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about, have your customers elucidated to you regarding what they actually look for?
Sorry.
Thanks, Nina, for checking in with Shruti and Jay. I think if not, I would have completely missed that there's something else that they're concerned about. So yes, what I'm hearing is A, commercial viability, and B, concerns about long-term profits or long-term sustainability of coal as a non-renewable resource. And Walter, I think you can share about.
Yeah, I think we are really kind of bridging that short-term, long-term thing that we were talking about as well. Yeah, but I can answer your question. Right now, the demand for coal remains strong from our customers in Atlantica. So in the short term, and I think this is on our minds to really try to find a profitable way in the short term. So in the short term, we are really looking at coal. However, we are also wondering about long term. I hear your concerns. It's something that I share as well, about coal being seen as a dirty fuel, that countries may wish to move away to cleaner sources and demand might fall. So we would like to ask actually on that regard, as you were mining the site, have you come across any potential other minerals or materials that have emerged? So before I answer that question about what the long-term deal might look like.
Well, Walter, I really appreciate that, you're asking all of these questions, because I'm sure at the end of the day, we both want to meet demands of our customers. Perhaps at this point in time, there are some things that I would like to discuss with my counsel in private. Perhaps we could make use of the 3-minute break to do so. Would that be all right with you?
I think that's okay with us. Yeah.
Christelle, can you organise that?
Yep, we are just making the rooms for team 20 to have their breakout. No. Team 820 has now gone to their breakout room.
Thanks, Christelle. Can you keep the clock for 3 minutes?
Team
Thank you very
820
much.
is now back.
Thank you very much for joining us again, Wonderland. Now, before we parted, there was a conversation about diversification of mining, whether other things could be mined. Wonderland, would you like to say anything?
Yes.
Yes, well, with regard to this whole joint venture thing, pardon me, if you could just cycle back a little bit, because we are talking about a joint venture in a three-party agreement, and this is really making use of an exception to the law where we don't have to partner with someone with the 51%, we don't have to have 51% equity in our company. So I just wanted to clarify first and foremost, for this exception, how likely is it that it can go through? You know, because are we talking about a very discretionary basis of the government even allowing this joint venture to happen since it's an exception? Or maybe if from your experience, you know that it's highly likely to go through, or if the government has even issued advisories that with this...
Julie, I'll let Eugene answer that.
Yes, sure.
Thanks, Nina, and thanks, Julie, for that question. The simple answer is that it's not discretionary. Companies that meet these requirements that enter into a joint venture agreement will indeed be granted the exception. Maybe we could also just, we've been sharing quite a bit of information about what we think about the joint venture, and I would really love to assuage your concerns if there are any others. But could you maybe just share a bit about your interest about this option?
Well, for this joint venture agreement, I think what we have heard is a three-party joint venture. Eugene, you mentioned several points just now, which I have taken the liberty to write down. So you talked about ownership, the role of each party in a joint venture, and you also talk about profits. So I think in terms of that, I'm a business person. And at the end of the day, what motivates me is anything that makes money. I'm sure, Walter, you can agree with that. So in terms of profits, what are we looking at? Do you have an idea in mind of how the profits will be shared as to, whatever that comes out of the mines?
Thanks for that, Jay. Right now, assuming we'll have to definitely discuss with NRO, because we can't decide on their behalf, but we will have to discuss with them on what kind of profit sharing agreement they'd be comfortable with. But right now, it seems that the fairest option would be a three-way split equally. Of course, we understand that you are going to have concerns about the profitability. And I think really before that break, so I hope that answers one question that you had. And I'm bearing in mind the question you had before the break about how we can make this profitable in the long run, or how we can help this to help you make money in the long run, because it helps us as well.
Yes.
So what I'm going to share some information that we've discovered with you, Jay and Shuli. If you want to clarify anything I've said first, please feel free to do so.
Jay, is there anything you'd like to ask? If not, we could also hear what they have to share.
I think at this moment, maybe I could just hear from Walter first.
Right. Thank you very much for that. So we understand the concerns over the long-term profitability of coal, and we understand the further concerns that will arise when profits are split among three rather than two. So what we've discovered on our land is the potential presence of a rare and valuable mineral known as green quartz. We know for a fact that this mineral is extremely fragile and very difficult to mine. Unfortunately, we don't know anyone who has the capability or expertise to mine this. But if you have some way to do so, the potential would be immense. We are talking about, of course, there needs to be a minimum size of the deposit, which is also kind of why we asked the question about what did you discover when mining there? Because we need a certain amount of deposit, of size, of quantity of this mineral in order to make it profitable. And we're not talking about some millions of profits. We are talking about values going into the billions. We are talking about a value of at least 250 billion Wonderland dollars
So
Now that
Walter,
is a lots amount of money.
Walter, can I just confirm that you believe that this green quartz exists within the rainforest in Neutralia?
Yes, that is correct. Where the mine is currently located.
You want to know whether Wonderland would have the specialist skills to extract this mineral?
Yes.
I think Walter had two questions. So the first is with respect to whether WMC had discovered any green quartz, because although we have reason to believe that there is green quartz there, we haven't been on site to check it for ourselves. And second, separate from the question of whether they've discovered anything, whether they have the capability to mine those green quartz as well.
Thank you very much. Can I hand over to you, Shu Li or Jay?
Well, Nina, do you think this would be a really good time to perhaps just let Walter and Eugene know about what we told you in the confidential session earlier?
I think that openness in mediation is a very sterling idea, and please proceed as you see fit.
So at this moment right now, there are two questions being asked. First is whether we have discovered any green quartz during mining, and second is whether we have the capability to extract the green quartz. Now, to be honest with you, Walter, we have discovered this rare precious mineral, and we do have the capabilities to extract this green quartz. So this is why, circling back to what we said earlier, we want to talk about the profits, because if we are going to be investing equipment and resources into extracting these green quartz, which, we foresee the return of investment to be huge, Walter, you have mentioned this, I hope that you can understand we perhaps are looking for a slightly larger share in the profit in order to, make our ROI a little bit more profitable for us, basically. What do you think, Walter?
Well, I hear your concerns, and I think Walter does as well about, of course, sustainability, and I think you do bring something to the table that justifies a larger share of the profits, which is the ability to mine the green quartz itself. However, I think maybe if I could just reach back to our earlier discussion about the legal requirements. In fact, a two-way joint venture would just not be possible between WMC and NEC directly, and that is why we have to talk about bringing NRO in. As for the details of the profit sharing, I do think that this is something that might be better discussed with all three people at the table. I don't think NRO will be commercially insensible and demand an insane amount of money for, even though they are not the ones bringing the capability of mining the green quartz. Walter, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's really what was on my mind. I mean, I run a business essentially, right? Or rather, I'm concerned about money. Really, profitability is, I think, on our minds. I think I really see this as an opportunity where we move from a situation not just what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours, but really what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine, and what has been mined is ours.
Can you just clarify that last comment? What has been mined is ours. I'm not quite sure what the message was there.
Yes, because the idea is that it is a joint venture. There is going to be some form of profit sharing. I think it's going to be very, very valuable for us here at the mediation table involved. And I think we're talking about a scale that goes way beyond whatever investment has been made. So actually, thanks for that, Nina, for that clarification. Actually, I did want to ask one question to Jay. Can we understand how much the cost of investment in the infrastructure would be, so that we get a better understanding of really what these concerns are?
Well, Walter, before we move on too quickly, can I just clarify that green quartz is actually in demand by your customers?
I can confirm based on my analysis team's research into the pricing of green quartz. It is extremely valuable right now. If I could share with you how much my analyst team has estimated the pricing, it's currently at 100 million per ton. Yeah.
Yes, so I hear your concerns about financial viability. And this does bring us back to the question about the concerns that Walter shared earlier about the amount of green quartz required before a project like this will become financially viable. On that note, could you perhaps share a bit about how much green quartz you found as well?
Yes, Walter. So I've heard that based on your company's research, you are looking, or rather it's valued at 100 million per ton. I think we both know, Walter, what is at stake here. If, you know, this is very, very profitable, and this is why this JVA is such an important step towards our continued operations in Neutralia. Now, at this point right now, I'm going to share with you, taking into the spirit of the confidence of this mediation, that we have found 5,000 tons of green quartz where the mine is located. That is not a small amount. That places the entire value of the green quartz found at the mine to be at 500 billion. I can see that you're really shocked right now, and we were equally shocked when we found this as well. It's just a rare miracle, if you would call it, that we have found. Now, in terms of what we need to invest into extracting these green quartz, this is something that I would need to check back, because we have to see what are the conditions of the mines, what tools can actually be used. We have to do an on-site analysis as well before we determine what's the equipment we have to use, how many people we want to hire, and all of that. So I think that is all of the small details that, not small details, but rather important details that we have to take into account in coming into, before we move into actually physically going to the mines to extract these green quartz. But perhaps, Shuli, do you have anything to add, you know, squaring back to the structure of the JVA in itself to include this particular precious mineral that we have found?
Yes, well, so it was on the table that we could talk. I mean, the specifics of profit sharing, definitely it will be more productive to be talked about in a separate session. But maybe another possible suggestion we could make, another way to structure it, could be that in addition to considering just the profit sharing from the value of what is mined, we could also explore building on the further agreement about export and rolling over and getting profits from that. Maybe you could look into the idea of WMC getting a percentage cut from the profits that you gain when you sell these to your clients in other countries.
Sorry, I'm just slightly confused, Shuli. Could you just clarify with me under what legal structure this would happen? Because to my understanding, if we are a joint venture, profits are split according to the equity holdings of each partner.
Okay, sorry, allow me to clarify on that. Yes, if we go ahead with the joint venture of 3 parties, then we would go by equity. Apologies if I did not clarify earlier. What we're thinking was more of if there was a joint venture with NRO, is that right? NRO, and we proceeded with a lease agreement of that joint venture with NCE, which is similar to what we have in place. Just that instead of having a single lease agreement between us and you, it's now a joint venture between. It's an agreement between a joint venture and NCE. Then there will still be this lease agreement where you still continue the relations of profiting from the exports, and that is where the idea of a profit cut would come in. But yes, I acknowledge these are 2 separate structures, of course open for discussion, just something that we had discussed and we thought it might be a possibility we could consider.
Well, surely, you know, my personal take on this, you know, as managing director and CEO, would it be a lot more elegant in a way that we just go by the equity of the JVA in itself, which I think was what Eugene suggested. And as to the exact equity that we're going to get, in this JVA, that is something that we really want to discuss in a future session, because we do see how this is going to work out. And I do think that the third party NRO is a valuable asset, because they are the ones that is a key component to making us comply with this exception under Neutralian law. Perhaps, Eugene, you talked about the role of each person, each party in a joint venture. I think from our end, we have offered that we could give you the technical expertise to extract these green quartz. And of course, I think you would be selling the green quartz to your customers. What role does NRO play in this joint venture?
Now, I thank you so much for bringing up that question. I hesitate to answer too conclusively on behalf of NRO. I think maybe when they come to the table, we can talk a lot more about what they bring and the things that they have to offer. But just from a legal perspective, as we've talked about earlier, NRO's very presence enables us to move ahead with this project, because they would allow us to fall under the exception of a joint venture. I'm not too sure about what else, as I said earlier, I'm not too sure about what else they bring, but I think even just allowing us to move into this is a valuable, something valuable to consider. I actually wanted to just make sure that we tied up some loose ends before we move forward with this. It seems that WMC is quite keen on this JVA, and we are talking a bit about the permutations and how this will work. Does this also affect our previous discussion about the $200 million of infrastructure and equipment that currently lies in the mines? So my question would be, if we enter into a joint venture agreement, would WMC be okay with continuing to use that equipment to mine coal?
Well, Eugene, as we have mentioned, green quartz is a very, very delicate material. I would have to check whether, because these tools that we have invested in, the 200 million, is very targeted at coal mining. I would have to, go back and check with my technical team whether it's possible to just use that same equipment from coal and use it directly to extract such a delicate material such as green quartz. But I do also hear that, your interest here is, I think you might be suggesting that it would be more cost effective for us to use the 200 million that we have invested in to mine the green quartz. Now, I think we have to bear in mind, I think this JVA that we are looking at is not just limited to green quartz. We are still looking at the options of being able to mine coal, and that 200 million investment that we have done already can still continue to be used for that purpose. But in terms of mining the green quartz in itself, we have to check again. We have to do on-site analysis to see what is a suitable instrument that we can use in order to mine this very precious, rare, and miracle thing that we actually found in the mines. Shuli, at this point, do you have anything that you want to add?
Well, I think we've heard a lot from both sides, and I think we kind of seem to be in some sort of agreement, or at least we both seem to be keen to work on this joint venture agreement. Now, because it involves three parties, not just both of us, I think it would be more productive, as we've talked about, to discuss greater details in the next session. Nina, maybe in view of the time as well, could you just help us to note down some points which we would like to bring to the next session? I believe earlier my client had talked about discussing the equity split and more details of the structure at the next session, especially with NRO in the picture. It'll be easier for us to all discuss. Is there anything else you want to talk about clearly in the next session?
I think Eugene also mentioned a few other points, but maybe Nina, you could just help us to put in place what we actually have to work on. And maybe we could also consider the possibility of inviting NRO into the future negotiations so that we get a better picture of what role they can actually play in this JVA on its own.
Surely, just a moment, and sorry Nina for interrupting. I just have one question to clarify. Jay, I think earlier when I asked about the $200 million of mining equipment, I wasn't referring to using that equipment to mine the green quartz directly. Again, as we mentioned earlier, short-term cash is an issue, and I wanted to make sure that in the interim, if we enter into a joint venture agreement, minded that whether we can mine green quartz is a question that will take some time to answer. Would Wonderland Mining Company be okay with continuing to mine coal with the existing machinery there while we are waiting to find out whether green quartz is available for mining?
Surely, correct me if I'm wrong, but because of the Neutralian law that is in place, we actually can't mine anything until the conclusion of the JVA. Am I right to say that?
Yes, it does appear to be so. Sorry, Eugene, maybe if you wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I must be a bit unclear today. I think I was referring to specifically in the event that we do enter into a JVA and we are still waiting for whether we can mine green quartz.
Yes, I think you mentioned time to really see if this equipment is suitable for mining green quartz, for whether you need new equipment in that sense. So I think, as I've shared earlier, and I think Eugene has shared earlier, really what we do need really is some coal to be extracted as well. So how that would look is JVA. Then we have, in the interim period, while we are finding out whether new equipment is needed for green quartz, whether we can use that equipment to mine green quartz, we still continue mining coal to fulfill our obligations in the short term. And I think that's really good for both parties as well, because it helps to address some cash flows. I think you mentioned your mining family as well, Jay.
Yes, I think to answer your question directly before Nina concludes, we will be okay with using the $200 million worth of equipment to continue to mine coal. And while we do that, we will look into what equipment we can use to mine the green quartz, provided we enter into an agreement on the JVA, because we don't want to be going against any laws in Neutralia. That's the last thing that we want to do. So maybe just to wrap up the session, over to you, Nina.
Thank you very much, everyone. Let me just share my screen again and let me see if I can show you what I've written down so far. Okay. Apologies for the messy writing again, but this is your JVA option. What the equitable split would be is still to be decided, including NRO in any future negotiations, as they would be one of the three. The continuation of coal mining and coal sales in the short term, including the green quartz mining in the new JVA. The joint venture to include NRO, WMC and NCE, provided that you can reach an agreement with NRO in regard to the terms. There would need to be further investigation in regard to equipment required for the new mineral extraction, including costs, conditions, employment and so forth. Does that cover everything?
Nina, I thank you so much for your summary. I think that does cover everything. Do you think that it might be appropriate just for me to talk about one thing that we should get done as soon as possible?
Yes, please.
Okay, so thanks, Jay and Shuli, for the great session today. I think Walter and I are both very encouraged. I think given the urgency of our miners' livelihoods, our companies, we think that it would be best if we could move ahead quickly to get in contact with NRO. And I think right after this mediation, Walter and I will get in touch with him, and let's arrange for a proper meeting so that we can sit down and discuss what a JVA would look like. How does that sound?
Yes, that sounds good. Thank you, Eugene, for that.
And can I just ask how quickly that's going to happen? When can we actually set a date for that next joint discussion?
I think, we can do it next week. Of course, this is subject to NRO's availability, but right immediately after this session, I can give them a call and set a time for that as well.
Okay, and that would be these three parties, the three businesses together, does anyone else need to be included in that conversation? Will that give Wonderland enough time to investigate equipment and extraction costs and so forth?
You bring up a good point, Nina. I think perhaps one thing we might want, one group of people we might want to engage is anyone with relevant expertise on extraction of green quartz. I'm not sure what WMC has already found out about their capabilities and the difficulty or ease of extracting the green quartz. But I think maybe I could get in touch with Shuli after this, and I could ask her a bit more about what they have discovered so far. And if we need to engage some relevant experts, we can do so.
Well, Eugene, thank you very much for that proposition.
Thank you, and that concludes the session.
Right,
No, we want to keep going.
Well done, Singapore Management University and National University Singapore, Team 1. I will now let the judges do their scoring and we'll place them into their rooms. Nina, mediator, you can stay in this everybody space, and Deborah Lockhart will be coming soon to do a little announcement. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, teams.
Thank you, Nina, for mediating this session. It was very
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nina.
Pleasure, pleasure.
So do we drop out of the call? Do we just wait here, or?
You can remain in the space. The judges will be moved to their space soon so they can do the scoring for 15 minutes and they'll be called back to this session.
Well, congratulations, teams. What a fantastic mediation, and thank you, Nina, for mediating. While we are waiting for the judges to complete their deliberations, I've got the very great pleasure of introducing you to two very significant gentlemen in the context of this competition, but also in the context of our trade relationships around the region and our legal and ADR focus as on an international stage. So many of you will be aware that the International Chamber of Commerce Asia Pacific Mediation Competition has been running now in its 4th year, and ADC has been involved in the background, supporting as a sponsor and a prize giver. But it was only this year that we collaborated with the ICC to help put the competition on. Of course, it's its 1st year and its 1st iteration online. So over the last few days, we've felt a bit like we've been on the bleeding edge, but hopefully it will be the leading edge, and it's certainly been a great experience for us. Brian Clark is with us and from the ICC, and I'd really like you to hear from Brian and to get the ICC's views on this very important competition, which of course they have been running for 15 and coming up for its 16th year in Paris. So it is really a very exciting initiative that has been going on now for nearly 2 decades. Brian, of course, is the director of the International Chamber of Commerce here in Australia, and he's also a director of the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So Brian, a shout out to you, hoping that you're online there somewhere, and we'll get you, if you start talking, you should just pop up.
Hi, Deborah. So I'm here, but I can't get my, there we go. Now I can start my video. Now you get me in as much real life as there is in the current circumstances. But look, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to the group today. And I only want to be very, very brief, but it was terribly pleasing. Last year, this is the 4th year, of course, as you've reminded everybody that we've held this competition. We started with a vision created by Peter McMullen and Delcy Lagons d'Anglem and a few others who were there at the start. People, Alan Limbry and a range of others who had all been involved with the Paris competitions, and we saw Australian teams, not very many, but a few, competing there, and we thought, why can't we replicate something like that for Australia? And then as we thought more broadly about that, why couldn't we do it for the region? So 3 years on, we thought in the first instance that if we just get 6 teams together, that would be enough. We've been through that. We've had around a dozen teams, or up to 14 teams over the last few years. That's been wonderful. As we've gone along, we've developed expertise in how to go about doing this, but more importantly, we've gathered together a group of people who are champions for the cause. And so I don't want to go listing some of those people, but they're still around the table today, and thank you very much. You know who you all are. The people who've sat behind this and organising it. And when we reflected on last year's competition, and what would we do to do that when we lost a major sponsor in the Victorian government, RMIT and Rajesh came to the fore and said, well, we'll do it. And that was wonderful. And we started to go down that process, and then ended up facing coronavirus earlier this year and all of the challenge of that. We'd also spoken to Deborah and her team, you know, around, well, how can we do this in a different, more sustainable way? And it was wonderful that she and her team in the Australian Dispute Centre came together and brought some horsepower in behind us. Not only that, they then reflected on the challenge of COVID and brought in Modron spaces and the technology, the use of technology. And the result of that you've all experienced, but seen again today, how adaptive this is. But also in the face of the adversity, we now have 22 teams. So we, in fact, got a greater response from the adversity than we had in the previous conditions. And so I've just been reflecting around how our little competition has developed and evolved over these 4 years, and where it might head to from here. And I know ICC in Paris have shown some interest too, because they're reflecting on how they will run a competition in February with the 66 teams, which they usually allow. And I know they're having conversations with Modron too. So we've been a little bit of a pathfinder in that process. So I am just so pleased with the way this has turned out. I hope that everybody has gained an awful lot from the experience, and particularly the students. The thing we're missing, of course, is the camaraderie you build up when you're together, and I don't know how we might overcome that, but I'm sure technology will be part of that solution as well, so that we can build the alumni that goes forward, and each year we can be a little bit bigger and a little bit better than we've been before. But I want to really shout out to Deborah and her team and say thank you so much for all of the effort that you've put into managing this program, putting it together so successfully, making it work and making it sing. Thank you so much, and thank you to all the competitors. And I know that you know, the judges are having a tough time now coming down to an eventual winner, and we need to remind everybody that all of you participating, it's not about the winning, it's about the participating, and it's about making sure that what you've got out of it is an experience that you can take forward into your careers and your lives. Thank you so much to everybody. Wish you all well after today.
Thanks, Brian. Great to have you on board, and from the exotic location of Canberra. Looking great there, thank you. And I'd now like to turn to Peter McMullen, and many of you will know Peter. He's a new friend to me and to the Australian Dispute Centre, but an old friend to this competition, both internationally as a judge in Paris, but also as really a thought leader in establishing this competition, and also a generous sponsor. So Peter is chairman and director of the Macmillan Group and founder of the Good Business Foundation. He's special counsel to Cornwall Stoddart Lawyers, and as I said, has had a long association with this competition. So Peter, if I may invite you to say a few words, because Peter's really, it's his vision and his understanding of how these skills translate at that commercial level that's really integral to the work that as the students that you have been practicing over the last few days, in fact, practicing for weeks really. So Peter, can I hand over to you to say a few words? Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah, and welcome everybody. And can I congratulate you all on this magnificent competition, and thank Brian for his good summary of where we've come from with this competition, and how delighted I am to be now in the role of sponsor of this competition on behalf of the Good Business Foundation, which I've established in Australia to really enhance our links to the region and enhance our capacity to trade, and enhance our capacity to elevate the important people-to-people communication that trade represents, and to elevate the importance of mediation in that process. And you know, we've had a lot of experience over many years, going back to many years at Paris at the competition, which is a wonderful, wonderful event. And the winner of tonight's competition, I think, from memory, you know, does gain access to that competition as a result of their hard work here. And everybody should aspire in this context to participating in the Paris competition, either personally or directly or online. And I must say, what I've seen the last couple of days on the online aspect of the competition is that it's opened up all sorts of opportunities that weren't there before. And I'm excited about that, even though I'm a begrudging acceptor of the COVID restrictions. But I think that we have got to adapt, and business in Australia, business in the region is adapting, and we need to help that process. And mediation is a very important tool. Let me tell you about an experience I had in Vietnam. Now, Vietnam had a long history culturally of mediation in their normal neighbourhood family disputes, but they had no structure. So we went to Vietnam and we actually talked to the Vietnamese Chamber of Commerce and Industry about introducing and teaching lawyers about mediation. And it was like taking people back to their own cultural roots to actually celebrate the positive side of what mediation can bring to a dispute, and that engagement, that communication, all of which you've expressed, not only in this final, but in other iterations during the competition this year. So it's really practical what you're doing, and it's really important for you to hold on to those skills, develop them over your career, because they will always, wherever you end up as a lawyer or whatever you end up doing, these skills that you learn here will be there for you throughout your careers. And you've honed them really well. I'm glad I'm not a judge of this competition tonight, because I have been a judge in the past and I've agonised about it, but fortunately I'm in the position to be able to step back and say, well, I'm not going to agonise about that. I'll agonise about the speech impromptu session, and I'll talk about that possibly later. But really, you just need to hold on to this idea that this is an important part of a global accentuation of communication and collaboration at the global scale, and it's really important, and you need to, and you will, and you're showing these skills and you'll use them in your future careers. So I've used it a lot over many years. I've practiced over many years, and I was really impressed with Nina's handling of tonight's mediation, and I congratulate you, Nina, for that, the way in which you managed that process, because there is a process, but there's a human side to it all at all times, and you've got to remember that and keep that in your practice. And anyway, look, I'm very excited about it, and the Good Business Foundation has been set up to support small and medium enterprises throughout the region, and we'll be doing that. And part of our remit is to support processes like this, like mediation, to help people where the field is often not level in terms of resolving disputes. And what we found in Vietnam is that there was an acceptable mode of dispute resolution that was known to the West, known to everyone else, but was also familiar to Vietnam from their cultural experience. And I think that's the case in many countries throughout the region. And so I encourage you to pursue this as an area of practice. And even if you don't, the skills that you learn here will be fabulous for you in the future. So thank you all very much, and good luck with, I'm going to wait with bated breath as to who was the winner. So thank you very much, Deborah.
Thank you, Peter, and bated breath indeed, because Christelle is about, well, very shortly going to pop in and see where the judges are at, and hopefully they are not far afield. But before they do that, I'm just really conscious that I haven't, we actually haven't had a round of applause at this point for not only our finalists tonight, but for all of the students who've been involved in the competition. We're going to have lots of opportunities to clap. So I'm going to get you to everybody to come on screen, take those blue or black screens or backgrounds or whatever you got on and show us, see us. Let's see those beautiful faces. And we're going to give ourselves a great big round of applause because you have all done an amazing job, from the students to the volunteers to my team who are here working, have been working tirelessly. Everybody's put so much effort in. So let's give ourselves a great big round of applause before the judges get back. Yeah. Congratulations. And a particular big round of applause to Nina, who has been working tirelessly with her fabulous microphone. That I would like one of those, Nina. Yeah, great microphone. So that is fantastic. So Peter, of course, is just one of our sponsors. We'll be hearing from our friends at the Victorian Bar a little bit later. So I'd like to thank them. I'd also like to give a big shout out to Modron. So we're on Zoom tonight because Modron, of course, is a specialist ODR platform, and we're now having a specialist main event. The platform has been terrific. We've been using it for quite a while now, and we're very, very grateful to have the support of Modron. 13 Wentworth is also a sponsor, and I'm very, very grateful to them. So I think we're just about time. Have we got Christelle? Are you going to come back on? And we'll then have an opportunity to hear from the judges. Of course, we've got a very eminent judicial panel tonight. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what they've got to say. So good luck, teams, and I will see you shortly.
We're 1,000 miles from coming. We have traveled land and sea, but as long as you are with me, there's no place I'd rather be. I would away forever, exalted in the sea, as long as I am with you, my heart continues to beat. With every step we take, Kyoto to the bay, strolling so casually. We're different and the same, gave you another name, switch up the batteries. If you gave me a chance, I would take it. It's a shot in the dark, but I'll make it. Knowing the
We're good to go. So judges, have we got you back? Anne and Wayne, Margaret,
Yes.
Jawad. There he is. So can I hand over? Who's?
Thank you, Deborah. Yeah. You wanted me to take it now, Deborah?
That would be great. Thanks.
Wonderful.
And welcome
All right.
back. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. We've had a very enjoyable chat, the 5 judges, because we were largely in furious agreement about how wonderfully skilled both these teams were. So the only hard part was choosing between them. But we have done that. And so we will be able to announce the result very shortly. And just before that, Deborah's asked us to give you a little bit of feedback around the things that we saw in that session. And I'm going to start by asking one of our celebrity judges we'll go through the judges, and if we've got time, what we'll do is we'll first ask each of the judges to give a little bit of feedback about the things they saw in that session. And then if there's time, we'll go back to each of them and ask them for one thing they would like to pass on to all of you as students as at the beginning of your careers about what they've learned around dispute resolution and negotiation. So I might begin with you, Chris Finlayson. Would you like to, what would be your, the comment you'd like to make in general about that round we just saw?
What I would like to recommend to the Institute is that a video be prepared and sent to every lawyer in New Zealand who's involved in mediation, because I thought it was a superlative effort by both teams. I particularly commend Singapore Management University for an outstanding opening. I've been involved in mediations where lawyers prepare mini submissions as though they're in the High Court. But what you two did was you had complete mastery of your position, and you presented your opening submissions in a very, very compelling way, and I congratulate you. National University of Singapore, I felt you were a little slower out of the blocks, but as a former New Zealand All Black rugby captain once said, this was definitely a game of 2 halves. And by the end of it, I was really having to concentrate because Eugene, you in particular, had a wonderful mastery of the various points that needed to be made, and you were lobbing the balls back very, very effectively. So I congratulate both teams. I thought it was a splendid example of what a mediation should be, not a mini trial. No need to read out submissions, but to master your position and then move in for the kill. Walter, I found you a most enjoyable participant. I said to myself when you opened that you verged on being oleaginous, but by the end of it, you were an extraordinarily effective CEO. So well done to both teams. It was such an honor to be part of this.
Thank you, Chris. Margaret, could I ask you now, what would you like to comment on that mediation? Have we still got Margaret on the line?
It slipped in, I'm sorry, Anne, it slipped into mute mode. It seems to do that if you hover your finger somewhere else. I'm just very honoured to have been a participant with my fellow judges in this competition, and would obviously like to congratulate the organisers and all the participants who will go away from it, I think, much strengthened and heartened in how they might use mediation in their future careers as lawyers and negotiators. My take home, having been a judge for 23 years, is how wonderfully respectful the parties were, both the counsel and the clients. It may not be everyone's experience in a mediation, of course, but this was an exemplar of how respectfulness will get you a long way. And I think what I also found impressive about it was the active listening to the other side, reflecting back, both of them very, very well. I endorse all of what Chris has said without attempting to repeat it, but I thought it was a very strong performance by both sides. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you, Margaret. Wayne, what would you like to observe? Yes?
Yeah, look, I just echo what Chris and Margaret have both said. Like Chris, I wish that the mediators that I see regularly in Australia had anything like the skills of the two teams that we've seen here today. My life would be a lot easier if they did. So extraordinarily well done. Both teams were exceptional. It was really impressive performance by everybody. I agree also with Margaret. Politeness and respect was a key feature, but also the use of process. The sequence was always well done, and integrating the use of the mediator, I thought, was very well done as well. I thought the mediator was called upon at an appropriate point of time and for appropriate purposes by both sides. One area that I thought was interesting, and again very well done by both teams, was there was an information asymmetry that you came to realise towards the end of the moot in relation to the green quartz. And again, it was a difficult position because both sides had information. They didn't know how and when to disclose it. And that was a tricky issue. But I think both sides handled it very well. And in the end, it worked out perfectly. So the information got out there. Nobody lost an advantage. Both sides were waiting to see the other side blink, as it were. And in the end, it all happened very well. And the net result of that was that an avenue for resolution opened out and was eventually pursued down the road of the joint venture, the profitability of which was going to be enormously enhanced by access to that mineral. So it was very well done, and both sides are to be congratulated.
Thank you, Wayne. Jawad, what was your feedback on that final that we just watched? We might have someone on mute again.
See, there you go. This was an exceptional performance, and I'm delighted that I was involved in the finals. You know, this is a feeding competition, but this was way up there with Paris and beyond. I mean, the exhibition of the negotiation skills, the styles, I think it was just amazing. I mean, Roger Fisher may not be around, but, you know, William Ury was watching this and saying, we've come a long way. And what was remarkable is that, you know, as things would have it, that when we began this competition, we started this rivalry between Singapore, which came out in this exchange. And what's heartening is that we've had the Singapore Convention, and we have two teams from Singapore. So if 2019 was about the Singapore Convention, it seems 2020 is about, you know, Singapore and where it's placed. And it's a great place to be, because if you are in fact the shining stars of mediation, then the future is bright in these times of coronavirus. I think excellent job. You hit all the markers there. Well done. That's my feedback to the teams. And thank you.
Thank you, Jawad. I agree with everything you've all said, and I'll just be very quick to pick up one thing that I thought was done marvellously throughout on both sides was some wonderful questions, and it showed how questions being used to great effect to progress your clients' interests and getting a really great outcome that worked for both teams. Questions like, Are you aware of any possible exceptions to the new law? Questions like, are you aware of anything else that could possibly be mined on this site? Did you find anything else of value? What role will NRO play in this venture? And it just went on and on. So that was just one aspect done extremely well. I would say of all the, I'm not even sure, 6 or 7 years of finals I've seen in Paris, and this now the 4th year here in Australia, it's the best final I've ever seen. So well done, all of you. Deborah, how much time have we got left for judges' comments?
Have you got a few more?
Well, if there was time, I was going to go round once more to get the judges a piece of wisdom they would pass on to this next generation.
I would think that, I think that would be brilliant. We would love to hear that, most definitely.
And what is there a time limit? We'll take the time. Okay. Thank you, Deborah.
I think we're here.
We're here.
Have we got a moment to hear from Nina as well? Would that be?
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Nina, in the tradition of the competition, has the mediator got any feedback?
Just that it was an absolute pleasure to be involved. I think the teams were, as has already been mentioned, behaved beautifully and were very collaborative in their approach, and no doubt would have achieved a very profitable collaborative joint venture agreement in the future. And I certainly look forward to reading about that in the newspapers at some point. Thanks very much. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you, Nina. I'll go back round in the same order. Chris Finlayson from Wellington in New Zealand. What would be your gem of wisdom for these new negotiators and dispute resolvers?
Well, as I watched the performance tonight, I was reminded of that great line from JFK's inaugural address: civility is not a sign of weakness. And I think I've only recently come back to the law after a 14-year sojourn in Parliament, including 9 years as Attorney General. And what I find is the level of rudeness and aggression has increased. I think, most unfortunately, you do not need to be like that to get a good result. So civility is not a sign of weakness, and you showed that tonight. And as he also said, sincerity is also subject to proof, and you also showed that tonight. So that's the point I would make. As lawyers, we are there to help the court reach a result in a mediation, of course, to work with the other side to achieve a result, and that will not be achieved by rudeness and aggression. It will be achieved by mastery of the facts, civility, and the ability to engage with your opponent.
Wonderful, thank you. Margaret, what would you offer to these new lawyers and business people?
Thanks, Anne. Well, I say here to Christopher's comments there. The take-home message that I would offer would be listen to the other side. So often the parties are so wrapped up in their own concerns and the point of view that they wish to get across, they may very well miss the nuances that are coming out of the other side. I thought these two parties exemplified, of course, listening very well. But that seems to me to be a skill that is often lost because we come from an adversarial legal system, so your counsel are always thinking about the advantage. They're always thinking, even though they're in a mediation, you can't escape that training, that it's the sort of the win-lose rather than the win-win. And so listen to the possibilities that are there, the little cracks that open up that you'll hear in the other side's statements. I think that would be my message. Anne?
Thank you. Wayne?
Okay, well, I'll take a slightly different tack. I think one of the things that certainly in my long experience in the law that lawyers are not good at is looking for opportunities to add value for their clients. So that too often lawyers look at disputes in terms of what's sometimes called a distributive allocation of a limited resource, or on other occasions more colloquially called a zero-sum game. There are often many more opportunities than lawyers can identify and seize to add value to dispute resolution. We saw that classically in the problem this afternoon. There was a great opportunity to add value by forming, and it was seized by both parties, great opportunity by adding value by looking at a new commercial structure to the benefit of all that could utilise a resource, again, to the benefit of all on a fair and equitable basis. Now that's the sort of thing that if you follow those opportunities during your career, you'll stand out from the pack and people will be knocking on your door very regularly. So that's my one little tip.
Thank you, Wayne. Jawad.
So this was a great learning lesson, but the one tip that I picked up from you here, the two teams actually, reminded me of this old saying that I used to sort of harp upon was, you know, take yourself lightly, but your work seriously. And what I found both teams doing was exactly that. And you really worked hard on the problem. At the same time, you really depersonalized the problem. From the moment the session kicked off, the fact that you were keeping it light is what's so important in the commercial world equally. And how you ran the analogies is exactly how sometimes I will engage in mediation as well. So well done on keeping it depersonalized and working that through the problem. So well done again.
Thank you. Thank you all for those wonderful comments and tips. The one I'll offer is time and place. Time and place. I'm often talking to parties in mediations and to students about the usefulness of containing problems to time and place in order to expand possibilities. So when someone says, well, that's totally unacceptable, the response can be, well, I understand that right now you don't think that's unacceptable. And with each time you confine a problem to time and place, you open up the possibility that in a different time and place, other things can be achieved. Thank you, Deborah. We hope that was useful to the students. And unless there's anything else you're wanting from us, with no further ado, we will announce the result.
Ta-da, drum roll.
Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness, where's that bit of paper gone? Not that I've forgotten, but it just makes me feel more secure to have it in front of me in writing. The winner of the first online Asia Pacific commercial mediation competition is team number 809, National University of Singapore. And we better have mics off.
Mics off. We've been practicing, while you've been busy, we've been practicing. Big round of applause, everyone. Big round of applause. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Which necessarily means that second place goes to team 820, Singapore Management University. Congratulations to both of you. Absolutely outstanding performances. Thank you, Deb. I'll hand back to you.
Thank you so much, Anne, and thank you, Margaret, Wayne, Chris and Jawad. You've done an amazing job. That was so hard to call. And thank you for your words of wisdom, and not only feedback to the students, but we're all sitting there going, great, I've taken notes. And great words of wisdom for us all, frankly, in terms of our daily work. So now we're on to the fun part in terms of prize giving, because of course we've got some tremendous prizes for the winners, which we'd like to award now, but we've also got another series of prizes. So everyone will be receiving your participation certificates. They'll be coming through hopefully tomorrow. They're actually all ready. We just thought we'd catch our breath before we sent them off. And of course, we'll be in contact with those who are awarded other prizes in terms of how we're going to get them to you. But it's now my very great pleasure to introduce you to Barrister Glenn Pauline from the Victorian Bar, and specifically the ADR committee down there, who is presenting on behalf of Vic Bar the Henry Jolson Prize for the winning team. So Glenn, can I turn to you to present that prize?
Thank you, Deborah. On behalf of the Victorian Bar, and in particular its Alternative Dispute Resolution Committee, congratulations to the winning team of the 2020 ICC ADC Asia Pacific Commercial Mediation Competition, the National University of Singapore. Each year of the competition since 2017, the Victorian Bar has awarded the Henry Jolson Prize to the winning team as recognition of the outstanding performance of each team member involved. The award of the prize in the name of Henry Jolson is intended to be and is a great honour. Henry Jolson, OAM QC, was a much loved and highly respected member of the Victorian Bar for almost 40 years. In 2012, he was inducted as a living legend of the Victorian Bar. He was a pioneer of mediation in Victoria from 1985, when he first received a call from a county court judge needing to clear the backlog of cases awaiting trial. And he and others then set about the task of mediating the backlog of cases, which then set the course for mediation to become the essential part of the Victorian justice system that it is today. So I'd like to take a few moments just to say a few words relating to Henry and mediation. We are very lucky to have still Henry's thoughts in relation to mediation, which were recorded in an interview with him in December of 2012. So Henry said, "I would rather communicate and talk openly about a client's concerns with a view to try and resolve it at an early stage, to avoid having this cost escalation and the delays and the frustration at the end. Even with an imposed decision by a judge or a third-party arbitrator, both sides are not 100% satisfied because you never get your costs back. Courts and arbitral tribunals often can't give to litigants complete satisfaction that accommodates their needs and interests, which may be different to their strict legal rights." And on communication, Henry said this, "Communication is important to me. I found that lawyers become filters, and I developed my own analysis of conflict model about this. Clearly, people in a commercial dispute had a relationship at one stage. They could talk to each other. They did a deal. They worked together. And then they fell out and found they were unable or unwilling to talk to each other effectively in order to resolve the dispute. So they go off to independent lawyers, and then it's the lawyers who are talking, not the clients. The lawyers have their own language and they filter things unwittingly or wittingly. In my mediations, and I'm thankful that the legal profession, barristers and solicitors trusted me enough for me to say at a particular point in a mediation, let me speak with the decision makers alone without the lawyers. And they let me go off and have a chat with the decision makers, who I bring to a full circle where I assist them to listen and talk to each other. And other things come out when the clients talk directly with each other, which shifts the dynamic and can produce an unexpected resolution." So from the Victorian Bar, we hope that Henry's words will also inspire you to continue the great communication that you demonstrated throughout this competition. In whatever country or jurisdiction or area of law that you go on to practice in, we hope that you too are inspired to champion open and good communication and satisfying your clients' needs and interests in your approach towards negotiation and mediation. As the winning team, you'll also receive a cash prize of $600 from the Victorian Bar to be divided amongst you, and a certificate from the Victorian Bar attesting to your victory and skills as mediators of the future. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, Glenn. And just before, before we turn to Jonathan and Eugene, and perhaps we'll call on the other members of the team to come forward as well, because we need to be alert to the fact that we've had 3 rounds that have got the team here, and there's 4 people in the team. So, but before we turn to the team and hear from them, which is what we're all about, it's my very great pleasure to extend and present a further prize to the winning team. And this year, the Australian Disputes Centre is presenting a mediation training course, mediation training and accreditation course to the winning team. Of course, these days it is all online. I did my first mediation training as a baby lawyer in the early 90s, and I'd have to say a day hasn't gone by when I haven't used the skills in some way, shape or form, not just in representing clients, in settlement negotiations, in M&A negotiations, and as we heard earlier, in our daily lives, in our negotiations in the office. The skills that you've been practicing, and all of you have been practicing over the last few days, are of course life skills. So we are absolutely delighted to extend and present this prize to the winning team. The Australian Dispute Centre has been training mediators since Sir Lawrence Street presented our first course in January 1986. And we've been doing that ever since across Australia, and of course internationally. We're also recognised internationally for our training by the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. So a very hearty congratulations again to National University of Singapore Team 1. And can I just invite you to say a few words and tell us how you're feeling?
Yep. Hye-Young and Yu-Chen, you want to say first? You want to go first?
Well, I guess we could. After all, we've been sitting in another room for about 2 hours plus. I think first of all, we'd like to thank our coaches and our other teammate from the team 2 from National University of Singapore as well, for training with us and for sparring with us in this overall process. And of course, lastly, to my own fellow teammates for being here and going up for the final competition round against Singapore Management University.
It still does feel a bit surreal, but through this experience, I think we've all realized the value and the skills that mediation and negotiation really brings. And I'm really excited to learn more about this art of mediation and negotiation. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to meet people with similar interests and meet people who have so much experience and be able to learn from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Hye-Young. Over to you, Joy.
Yeah, thanks, Yu-Chen and Hye-Young. I think we really are very, very thankful for this opportunity. I think we're very thankful for all the feedback we've received from mediators, from judges. I think it's been very helpful, for us as law students right now, but legal professionals in the future. And I think the advice that we've received is something we will definitely look to apply. I think we also want to appreciate really the team at the Australian Dispute Resolution Centre for the amount of work and coordination that they've had to put in, because it can't have been easy pulling in teams from really all over the Asia Pacific region. So we really are very appreciative of the work. And I think finally we want to firstly thank SMU for a very, very great final round, which I think really pushed us really quite hard. And of course, all the other teams, those that we competed against and those that have participated. I think I can only speak for the ones we've competed against, but I think we really had our work cut out for us, and we're really quite thankful that we're here.
Yeah, I think I echo everything John said. Just really grateful. We had a really fun time. I think for me, it was
I think one of my first few times trying out mediation. And I was just so blown away by the different ways people think about things, the different styles that mediators had, and the way they bring structure and flexibility into a discussion. I was just so grateful to be able to experience all these things and look forward to seeing more in the future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Singapore University Team 1. Another big round, yes. Okay, congratulations. And our first, our runners-up, Singapore Management University. I'd like to acknowledge you and award you the prize as runners-up. And I'm hoping that you are still there and have just got a moment to say hello to us as well, because you've done a tremendous job in reaching this final. And as we heard from the judges, it could have been anybody's race. So can we turn to Kimberly and Shuli?
Okay. We're really thankful for this opportunity. Yeah, I think we really want to thank our coaches, Diraj and Prof. Yunus. I believe they're watching now, as well as all the people that came to spar with us. Yeah, the alumni and friends who have helped us. We really are very, very appreciative. We are very thankful for the opportunity to learn from others as well. I think from all the rounds, we've really gotten to
Take in the feedback.
Yeah, take in the feedback from everyone. And yeah, it's been such a good experience for us. And I think we will really work on what we have learned from this and move forward.
Yeah. Yay. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Once again, also thank you to the team from the Australian Disputes Centre for really, taking the time out to organize this in an online platform. I think it's just so nice to see everyone from all over the world. And we look forward to everyone who wants to come to Singapore. You can hit us up after COVID is over. You can go and have nice food. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Singapore Management University, and we are definitely ready to travel. We are feeling shackled like everyone. So congratulations again, and just great to have you in the competition. I'm going to make a special mention of the other preliminary final contestants. So we had 4 teams that went through to the preliminary finals this morning. They did not have a lot of time to prepare. It took a while to collate all of the scores from over the last couple of days and getting those final scores in. So it was a tremendous effort by all 4 teams this morning to come on. And what was absolutely intriguing and a testament to the quality of the work that is happening in Asia. We've got the National University of Singapore Team 2 was in the preliminary finals this morning, as well as NALSA Team 1. Now, I just need to let you know that there was very little between all of these teams, and indeed a next batch of teams who didn't make the final cut. So again, warm congratulations and a hearty congratulations to you all and all participants for being involved and putting so much hard work in. I'm going to turn to some special awards now, but I would just like to see and hear your fabulous clapping again. I'm going to get you to do your power clapping again. Okay. Thank you. Now we've got some special category awards in the competition before we head on to the impromptu speech competition and best dance moves. Hello. So best mediation plan. Once again, these categories were very hotly contested. There wasn't a lot between you, but in this instance, we gave it to Monash University Team 1. Congratulations, Monash. Best opening, congratulations, Monash. We might just do a big clap at the end, do you think? The best opening statement, West Bengal National University of Judicial Sciences, congratulations. Best Mediation Advocacy Skills, University of Sydney. Now I should be really giving the numbers here because, as you all know, we've been running a blind competition here, so we really only know you by numbers, so you're barely familiar with the names. But USyd was 819. Okay, best teamwork, Nalsa University of Law, Team 1. Congratulations, Nalsa. Best interaction with the mediator, National University of Singapore, Team 1. Congratulations again. And best team participating in the competition for the first time. Now, we had quite a few of these, but we gave the award to Pontificia Catholic University of Chile for their very, very strong performances, but also I might add, because they were the ones who were most challenged by the time zones. So poor Pontificia were mediating at all hours of the day and night, and a big shout out to them. So can we just do a big warm congratulations to all of those teams. All right. So now we're down to the special awards and the Impromptu Speech Award. And Peter McMullen is going to present that. He was one of the judges this afternoon with Rajesh Sharma. And I'm going to call on Peter to announce the winners for the first, second and third prizes. There's cash on the line for this impromptu speech competition. So over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Deborah. And look, once again, I want to heap some further praise on the participants in the impromptu speech competition. The heavy program over the last few days. You've certainly presented a whole lot of cases which reflect the mediation and the dispute resolution skills you've learnt in the course of this competition and adapted them to day-to-day life situations. And you've done it extremely well in all cases. And Rajesh and I really had a lot of difficulty actually resolving which ones should win. But we had to make a decision in the end. And so we're going to make a special mention to Chris from University of Queensland, who did a wonderful job. Behind him, or ahead of him at 3 was Teresa, who is the Chinese Kiwi, and she did a wonderful job of presenting her story. Chloe Chan at number 2, she did a wonderful exposition on attacking the problem, not the people. And the final, and in our opinion, the winner was Sweeney from Hyderabad University in India. So really wonderful competition, wonderful participating, great idea for the competition. And it must have just been an added burden for you all, but you rose to the occasion and you kept within the time and you did some really brilliant presentations. So really excited about this addition to the competition, which I've been involved in, as you all know, for many years. So thank you all very much, and well done to the winners and the place getters. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, those impromptu competition speeches this afternoon were just tremendous, and to hear how the individuals were managing with conflict in their daily lives was at times hilarious. Now, you possibly needed to be here for the opening event on Sunday night when the students were speaking and we were practicing our clapping in anticipation of this evening. And I encouraged the students to think about a few power dance moves. Now, it's a little known fact that one of my goals in life is to have my own dance company by the time I'm 60. And as I hurtle towards that ambition, I thought we may just integrate my passion for dancing with somebody else's passion for dancing who I knew absolutely was going to enter this competition. So we now got a video of our best dancer for the 4th annual Asia Pacific Commercial Mediation Competition from none other than the National University of Singapore, where a lot of talent is coming out of there, and not just as negotiators in a mediation context. So we're going to turn to the video, which hopefully will come on just very quickly now to and no one could compete with that, so they didn't even try. So absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Jay, for that. You're definitely on the team. Oh yeah, big clap for JP. Congratulations. That was absolutely brilliant. And you'll definitely be in my ensemble when I put that team together for my dance company. So that's a wrap for us for the 4th annual Asia Pacific Mediation Competition. In closing, I just want to reiterate my really deep thanks to all of our volunteers who have been absolutely incredible. So our professional mediators and judges who have also dialed in from parts near and far, for those who are in the Americas, for those in New Zealand, for those across Australia. We are really, really grateful for your time, for your support, for the insights that you've offered to the participants and the students in the competition. It has been an immense effort, and we're very, very grateful. To the other volunteers, our session supervisors, who've been made up of ADC interns and friends of ADC interns, we're very, very grateful. I'm personally very, very grateful for all of the amazing work they've been doing behind the scenes for weeks. They've been up to all hours for the last few nights, and I'm very, very grateful for their support. Also to the organising committee, and who have been involved. A good number of those on the organising committee have been involved for many years. So Rajesh Sharma, Brian Clark, Anne Sutherland, and new committee members, Helen Shervin over in Perth, Francesco Esparago here from Sydney, Dean Tanya Soren and from Newcastle, and Lawrence Ball from almost everywhere. And a shout out to Lawrence if you're online tonight. So thank you so much for your support. To our sponsors, again, my thanks to Peter and the Good Business Foundation, to Vic Barr, to Modron, and to 13 Wentworth. We're very, very appreciative of your support. The reality is, without all of your contributions, none of this could possibly have happened. And then finally, my thanks again to all of the students, and you've worked so hard. Thank you so much for signing up to the competition. The competition is nothing without its participants, and you have been just a wonderful group of students, clearly high-ranking students from a lot of high-ranking universities, I might add, and students that we can see and I can see going a very long way in your careers with the skills that we've seen you demonstrate here over the last few days. So all the very best of luck for your studies, all of the very best of luck for your careers. Do stay in contact. We'd love to, for you to be back helping us potentially in the competition in the years to come. So congratulations to all again, very big thank you, and a sign off from us. And if I can just get your fabulous power claps, and JP, if you're there, and anybody else, a few fabulous dance moves. We will have a big clap and we'll close out with our video. Thanks everyone.
We're 1,000 miles from comfort. We have traveled land and sea, but as long as you are with me, there's no place I'd rather be. I would away forever, exalted in the sea, as long as I am with you, my heart continues to beat. With every step we take, Kyoto to the bay, strolling so casually. We're different and the same, gave you another name, switch up the batteries. If you gave me a chance, I would take it. It's a shot in the dark, but I'll make it. Knowing the little hope you can't shame me. When I am with you, there's no place I'd rather be. No, 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 no place I'd rather be. No, 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 no place I'd rather be. No, 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 no place I'd rather be. We set out on a mission to find our inner peace, make it everlasting, so nothing's incomplete. It's easy being with you, sacred simplicity. As long as we're together, there's no place I'd rather be. With every step we take, Kyoto to the bay, strolling so casually. We're different and the same, gave you another name, switch up the batteries. If you gave me a chance, I would take it. It's a shot in the dark, but I'll make it. Knowing the little hope you can't shame me. When I am with you, there's no place I'd rather be. No, 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 no place I'd rather be. No, 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 no place I'd rather be. No, 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 no place I'd rather be. When I am with you, there's no place I'd rather be.
We did, we're going to keep this line open for anybody who wants to stay on. So if you are keen to stick around, we will be here, and we will, depending on how many people stay online, we might do a bit of a shuffle if you want to have a chat online, and we'll see where it goes. So I think we've got a couple of dozen people still